Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by UCAN. On today's episode, we have Dex Hopkins and Joey Adduci here to debate whether they think that it's better to have individual coaching and train alone or follow a template and have more of a training camp structure. We see so many athletes on both ends of the spectrum here. The talks of training camps, people moving around a lot, it seems like that's the trend. But is that the trend that's going to lead you to elite fitness? Dex, I'll let you start.
Well, where do the Dolphins play? Where do the Colts? Where do they HQ out of? It's a city. It's one place, and it's a professional team. I think it's a lot of good ingredients for a lot of different scenarios, right? I'm going to use my dear friend Jordan Cook's conversation we've had a lot. Uh, I remember in 2014, 15, Jordy was the first of our friend group to qualify for the games, right? We all go to regionals in 2014. Jordy trained alone up until that point, broke through before all of us. To our surprise, honestly. Kid balled that year. And then moved to Maine to live with the boys at Misfit with Cody Mooney at the time. I want to say Joe Kearney might have been RIP to Sad Joe. I don't think he works out anymore. But they had the camp, right? So it may have been the first outside of Ben Bergeron to do that with Drew and the boys at Misfit. But he moved up there, and I love Jordan to death. I think Jordan was a better individual training athlete. Like in the cave alone was Jordan's thing for years. He ran an affiliate similar to myself. He would have people in the affiliate around him. Maybe they jump into workouts, and that was awesome. And then you move up there, and every day is this heightened sense of holy shit, we're competing every day. And I think there's sometimes for certain people there's diminishing returns on that. And so I have seen it work and I've seen it not, and that is one that's near and dear to me. I think if you have the right ingredients to bake that cake, it can be good. But it's a real that's a slippery slope to go. So I could see positives of both.
Okay,
Yeah,
Joey, what are your initial thoughts?
I definitely agree. I think he made a great point that it depends on the individual. So, to that point, if somebody thrives being in an environment where there's a lot of people around, there's a lot of energy, they need that to kind of get stimulated and get going. That type of person might do well. That being said, if you are somebody who really needs that focus and gets distracted easily, and you need to put your head down and get your work done, it's going to be a little bit better to be in that solo environment. I think the biggest problem is when people get derailed from their personal needs and they're focusing mostly on what's the team doing and not what do I need to do to improve myself as an individual athlete. That's where you see people kind of get derailed. And then that kind of leads to people hopping from camp to camp when they don't see improvement because they haven't spent enough time doing the dedicated weakness work because they're doing this cookie cutter programming.
Do you guys think that every athlete should have maybe a whole season where they are just training alone to really get to learn about themselves and their weaknesses and almost like get through that stage to maybe be a better athlete in the long term?
I'm not sure it's alone. I'm not necessarily I'm pumped for the isolation because I'm a person who for the last few years have had to train alone, except for I roped a lady named Hester in with me last year to train for semis and whoever I could get in at that time. But I think it is what you're doing. I'm not of the mindset like most people are that if it is for everyone, it's for no one. I don't think that's necessarily true. But I think at some point, if you want to take a step, especially in the state of the sport now, you have to have someone who is testing you directly, testing Lauren, screening her for limitations in range of motion, instability, in aerobic capacity, and all these really specific things that may never be individually tested, but they are large pieces to the fitness puzzle to be successful in the sport at a high level. And so I think if you are getting away from those things, or if you've never even been presented with them, you can't know what you don't know. So you need that exposure from somebody who has educated eyes to have them on you and run you through that, and you give them feedback through the testing, and then they lay out these steps to draw. I tell people it's a lot like shooting the old machine gun. I want a close spread, right? Like that's the most CrossFit thing is getting all buckets as full as you can and getting those that spread really close. And so I don't think it's necessarily isolating. It is, are you, like Joey said, spending the off season focusing on the things you should focus on rather than what this program is focusing on, and the more dialed in that is and tailored to you. And the only example I really have is how we do stuff at Brute is, you bring on An athlete, we take you through at least 2 weeks of testing. If you show us something that we need to dive deeper into, we add some things on. So maybe it's 2.5, and all of that data is taken in. We build out your things to progress forward, and it's very straightforward and obvious, and sometimes painfully boring because it should be. Me and Matt just talked about that on Instagram. You should be presented the same things to work on those and progress them linearly, and the way you do that. But if you don't have those, you can't know. And so I don't know if it's being isolated or being around people, because that what Matt does in Florida is everybody's doing their individual programming. DB, Emma, Dallin, James, they're doing their individual stuff. I think once a week there's a team throwdown. But if you go in there, it's everybody's doing their own dance, right? It's tailored to them. Once a week they'll throw down as a check-in. So they're kind of keeping the thing like I talked about with Jordan out, where everybody's trying to run each other into the ground every day. And you're there for the environment of, hey, we are professionals. We are sharpening the axes. We need to sharpen our own toolbox. And then this 1 week check in with everybody to have fun and throw down and keep the morale highs seems like the right recipe, because all those people are doing really well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point of balancing the two, and you don't have to do one or the other necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but the competition side of it should be a lot less frequent than the training and practice side of it. And I think that's the mistake a lot of athletes make, is that every day becomes competing, and their bodies and their minds just can't handle that to recover, or they might peak at the wrong time. And that's when you see people show up at semis or the games and they were fitter 4 or 5 months prior to that because their timing wasn't correct. So if you start to look at some of the things that are working best in history, is like you have Frazier and Tia were training partners. So you have a couple of training partners. Now you see it with Justin and Ellie kind of copying that format. And then if you think
Mm-hmm.
back to, back in history, you know, originally before these giant camps, it was just your training partners at your affiliate. Now we have people moving in different countries, different states, and that's a lot of life change. And that allostatic load adds up and stresses you out, and it's going to take away from your recovery. But it's one of those things that if you can handle, just working out with friends and they're challenging you and all that stuff in your affiliate, it seems to be a better model.
This episode is brought to you by UCAN. Who can? You can. At least I can with UCAN, with one of their easy squeeze pouches that give me the energy I need to get through my workout without causing a crash. When I work out early in the morning but don't want to on an empty stomach because we know mid-wan I'm going to be hangry, I grab one of their super easy on the stomach bars. Chocolate almond butter, yes please. I may not be a games athlete yet, but UCAN helps me stay focused and energized during my workouts. It delivers steady release carbs for long-lasting energy without spiking blood sugar levels, the key to sustaining peak performance and focus and recording videos like these. Trusted by top CrossFit pros like Scott Panchik and Emily Rolfe, get your hands on these goodies and even save 20% on your first order with our code CHALKUP, link in the description. Now, back to the episode. But is there something about actually being alone? Because we look at somebody like Brent Fikowski, and I'm not saying that he's by any means the rule, but you look at somebody like him who does train alone and follows his own programming, and it's him in his garage. And Joey, you and I have talked about it, but at Dubai, when he aborted everything and went into the split snatch, nobody
Insane.
else on the field was
That's
doing
so
it. We
good.
know that he has played around with that. I'm just thinking, like, maybe if he had a training partner, he wouldn't have tried that because he didn't want his training partner to see what tricks he had up his sleeve.
Mm.
So is there something about just being alone until you get to the competition floor?
Bex, you want to jump in on this from your experience?
Yeah, man, look, I hate to beat a horse. Brent used to be a brute guy, had very tailored things with his coach, and for one reason or another chose to go and do his own thing. He is one of the smarter, more methodical athletes in the field, and so and also like a wildly intelligent, resourceful guy. Uh, and so my favorite example of it is seeing like crazy videos of Matt in his mom's basement rowing and snatching. That's like that's the scary psychopath stuff that I think of. Like Brent gonna win chippers, smart dude, knows himself well, very self-aware. I think regardless of whether Brent is there or not with people, that's gonna be Brent. Um, Matt it seemed like around people for a long time, and when he withdrew and did like the Bane in the cave thing, like it kind of unleashed the monster, and so he thrived in that. Like I was born in the darkness. That's him. Um, but you saw that like when he had training partners, he had Ben, he had Kat, he had those people. He was good. When he went off on his own, he sought the attention of the consummate professionals in their field, like Joey's talking about. I mean, leaps and bounds. And that leap and bound for him was winning and winning and winning and marginally being bigger. It looking like he was at an 80% effort, which we used to talk about with Rich all the time. But I mean, Rich always had Dan. Rich always had everybody pining to come work out with him. Matt was not that. He had Tia. From what I understand, they weren't in there every day grinding it out together. They were just in a similar location. And I mean, there's something about it. But again, I think it comes down to the individual. If you're so crazy, you need to stick the cards to the chest, and that's like a superhero kick. 'Cause I mean, that guy, you've heard him talk about like not working out to music, uh, doing X, Y, Z, like just things that are insane to me. And I'm super guilty. Like I've trained with him before, and I was like super off put by how serious he was and how like very professional. I was like, man, that guy's a dick. And so I retract that statement. He's not. He was just on the verge of winning it more times than anybody ever would. So I was wrong. Fellow was just about the business, and business was good. So
He doesn't
yeah, I don't
dance up to the barbell like you do.
look. I'm there to have fun, though. I'm there to have fun. It's like if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna have fun. It's too hard not to when you can sneak it in there. But yeah, and I'm the opposite. I need people. I have an affiliate in my garage, like an affiliate worth of equipment. I need, even if you're not doing the workout with me, be in the vicinity. Like yell something at me, do anything, just be there. And not to like push me or go crazy, but just to like, the most CrossFit thing to share in the pain if you can. If not, just be there as a support role. And that's all, that's my favorite thing. It's why my heart is in the affiliate. Do I love remote coaching and programming? Absolutely. I love all my athletes. But I think my heart, and even more so, is moving and getting back into the affiliate constantly. Like my heart's there to share those things with people and be shared with me and be a part of the journey and let them be a part of the journey if we're going to keep doing the competitive one. But yeah, man, it's so individual and like I don't know. Brent, great example. Matt's the scary one to me. Um, and so I don't know. It's
I,
weird. Like Amanda was at Comp Train with a bunch of people, did really well, right? Mal's there in Vermont with everybody now. They bring in the professionals, the strong men, the Amy's, the all the people, and there are people there constantly for her to train with. And I'm sure when there's not, it's Matt looking over her shoulder and being there. And so, I think it's a little bit of both. They're all
yeah,
scary people.
yeah. I think another person that pops out is Pat Vellner, who
Mm,
he's one of the few people that's stuck with his coach throughout the whole time, and
yep.
he's somebody with all his life change. He's somebody who is a chiropractor, has a baby, is married. He gets into the gym, and he admits all the time, like half the time his warm up is setting up and cleaning up, and he's getting everything he needs to get done. So it's very individual to that person based on what their life requires. But I think the biggest point that Dex made about Frazier is the professionalism. If somebody
Mm-hmm.
needs to be around other people and they need a coach overlooking every rep that they do to train like a professional, then that's what works best for them. If you're somebody like Brent or Frazier who could lock themselves in a garage and do what they need to do and have that self-awareness of this won't get better unless I do it, that's that
Mm-hmm.
individual. Not everyone's built that way and not everyone has that. So I think it really is highly individual. I think the most important thing and the recurring theme we keep getting back to is having experts help you work on those weaknesses. We saw Haley Adams. I think that these people are freaks of nature. Regardless,
Oh yeah.
they're doing any programming, as long as it's decently balanced, they're going to rise to a games level athlete just because of how hard they're willing to work and how fit that they are. But taking that next step, you see someone like Haley, she has kind of hit the same ceiling every single year. So now she's taken a step back, sought out an expert, and she's deliberately working on a weakness all in, just like we used to see
Mm,
Frazier do. And that's something that's exciting to see. And a lot of athletes are becoming more aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Haley's a great example. Okay, Dex, what's your bottom line? Training camps or training alone?
Mm, bottom line, uh, I think you have to. I think the self-awareness of what you need is the bigger deal. I'm a fellowship person with the fitness, so I need a camp. I need to be around folks, and I've seen it be successful. And that's kind of how my brain works. Not on a competitive level, but just on the fellowship part of it, man. It's too hard not to share with people. For me, I think knowing yourself as an athlete, if you can lock yourself in the cave, do it. But to me, it's camps. Let's have a fitness party. Let's just do the party.
Joey, what's your bottom line?
My bottom line, I am not on the side of you should be moving all over the place, going to different camps. I think that you should, stay where home is home, be around your people, your family, your community. but you need a coach and you need great training partners to help assess where you're at and where you need to go. And as long as those pieces are in place, things should be moving forward.
I'm trying to write down that word you said. Was it allostatic?
Allostatic
Was it
load.
allostatic load? This boy, me and
I saw
Joey got to do more. I
I
learned
saw you
stuff from Joey, so.
I saw you made a face. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said
I said,
that.
boy, we getting $1 million words on the bottom line now.
Dex
Uh,
That
loved
was
it.
great.
His brain exploded. It's in his notes section.
I
He's
said,
going to
let me
use
get
it
this
next time.
thesaurus out, boy. I'm not even gonna attempt to say that in normal conversation. My
I
accent's
can't
too thick.
I can't even take credit. My friend Zach that owns Strength Ratio in Nashville, North Carolina, made a great post about it with people overtraining. So I got to give him props, give him a shout out. I stole that word from him.
I love it. So good.
I love
Word of
it. The
day.
internet has
Word of
so
day.
much interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Word of the day. Use it in a sentence, then come back to us.